Dear students, welcome to part 2 of the video series on chapter 2, that is freedom. So in the last video we discussed about what is the scope of freedom, and are there any constraints or restraints on freedom. In the second video we are going to discuss the nature of freedom itself. So there are two aspects of freedom. The first is the absence of external constraints, and second is the existence of conditions in which people can develop their talents. So, let me explain this with an example. So, in first case, if I suppose uh, I want to become a engineer. So there are no external constraints on my desire to do so. Like if I want to take an exam for IIT, then nobody will stop me from doing so. Correct? And if I crack IIT, then I can get into any engineering college, uh, and then I can pursue my dream of being an engineer. But the second condition here is the existence of conditions in which people can develop their talents. So, for example, if my from the like suppose the area where I come from does not even have a decent school. So if I do not even get decent schooling in my early years, then that is a restraint on my desire to become an engineer. Correct? If my area does not have proper electricity, then I won't get light to study. If my area does has very poor healthcare and there is a prevalence of diseases, then I don't know, as a child I might even die, and my dream of becoming an engineer will also die with me. So the external conditions in this case are not in favor of me pursuing my choice, so they do not support my freedom. Now, so based on the above condition, what should be the idea of a free society? So a free society just should not have lack of restraints. It should also provide proper conditions in which people can pursue their freedoms. So the answer is one which enables all its members to develop their potential with the minimum of social constraints. So like we said, we cannot have zero social constraints, because then the freedom of other people can be affected. So we will have at least some kind of minimum social constraints, but we will provide favorable conditions for the people to pursue their freedom. Now, but then it becomes necessary to determine which social constraints are justified and which are not. So in this, there are two aspects of freedom: negative freedom and positive freedom. So negative freedom is freedom as the absence of constraint. So that means that nobody else is stopping me from doing so. Freedom as the absence of constraint, and freedom as provision of optimal conditions for a person's growth. So in the first case, like what we said, there should be no external constraint on my freedom. But in second case, the society should also provide me optimal conditions for me to pursue my freedom. The main question here was that how to determine which social constraints are justified and which are not. So this is the question which we will uh, discuss further in our upcoming discussions. Now, the source of constraints. So the restriction of freedom comes from two places. First is internal and second is external. So internal constraint can be our own self-discipline or moral values. Correct? No, so there's this. As a child, you might have read a story about uh, the boy saying that even when nobody is watching, God is watching us. Correct? So if somebody believes in God, then even if no police officer is watching, even if there is no CCTV camera, still they would not engage in any kind of unlawful activities, because they believe that God is watching us. or even if somebody does not believe in God, but they have strong moral values, they believe that stealing or theft is immoral, then even if nobody is watching them, they will still not steal. So that is a very different kind of example. Uh, but let's take another example. So, like my choice to be a vegetarian or non-vegetarian, correct? So, if I was born in a Orthodox family where they think that eating non-veg is bad, correct? Then there will be external force on me to not eat non-veg. So if, for example, if I started eating non-veg, then my parents would punish me, correct? Like they might stop my pocket money, or they might even beat me. I don't know. Like so, then the force is external. The restriction of my freedom is external. But if I myself believe that eating non-veg is immoral because in order to eat non-veg you have to kill another living being, then I would decide that I do not want to eat non-veg. Correct? So in this case, the source of my constraint is internal. So these are the two various cases. The same case can be, for example, if I want to start a firework factory, correct? So I have a fireworks factory and I'm employing small children because I see that the small children in my locality, they do not go to school, they play on the roads most of the time. So let's get them to work. I even have to pay them very less and I can get my factory to work, correct? Now what will stop me from doing so? So first is my internal constraint. I might feel that using small children as laborers is immoral. I should help them study and not use them as laborers, correct? But even if my internal restraint was not working, there will be external restraint. The government will not allow me to use child laborers because child labor is illegal, correct? So in all cases, there are two constraints or restraints on freedom. Now, I want you to think of an example of a force which can be moral and a law which can be immoral. So, like I said, uh, an example here can be yeah, next day the government can make a law, correct, that old people are no, they do not, they are not productive anymore, they have retired, and so we do not need them anymore, so maybe we should put them in a prison or something, because if they live then they will consume a lot of resources, correct? So this will be a law backed by the government, but a law will be immoral, this law will not be correct. Second example is example of force which can be moral, correct? So uh, mm, so for example, if I see that uh, somebody is abusing their parents, like old parents, they are beating them up every day, and then I go to the government and I police and I tell them that they are doing this, this is wrong, but the police and the government do not listen to me. So one day I take my matters in my own hand and I beat that person. So what I do is forceful, but so a lot of people will think that what I did was moral because here I was using force to stop injustice from happening. So that is one example. Now, how is legal authority backed? So all legal authority is backed by the use of force, correct? So if I do not pay my taxes, the police will come and lock me up. So that is the use of force, correct? If I go and steal stuff, then the police will come and lock me up. So again, that is again a use of force. Now, social inequality, that is caste and class, can also lead to constraints on freedom, correct? So if I'm from a low caste, then some people might not give me house on rent. So I will have difficulty finding a house on rent, correct? If I am a low caste person, then my classmates or my peers can bully me, saying that you are a low caste person. They might not treat me equally, they might not eat my food, correct? So then I will feel inferior. Class can also be a constraint on freedom. So lower class people, poor people cannot enjoy their life fully because they do not have the financial resources to do so. Now, the need for constraints. Why do we need constraints? We need some constraints, or else society would descend into chaos. Correct? If there are no rules, then so like there will be so much confusion. No? Some people are driving on the left side, and people are driving on the right side. Correct? There will be no traffic rules. Correct? People will steal stuff from each other. Nobody will punish them. Also, there are various examples: rage while driving on the roads, fighting over parking spaces, quarrels over housing or land, disagreements regarding whether a particular film should be screened or not. So these are various cases in which we need to control the freedom. Otherwise, people will start beating each other when they are driving on roads due to small incidents. Correct? When a particular film is made, a lot of money goes into it, but one small group of people will come and say that we do not want this film to be screened. So that will be very unfair to the film producer. So these are various cases. Society needs some mechanisms to control violence and settle disputes. We cannot let people take the law into their hands because then the consequences can be very fatal. So that is why we need certain kind of mechanism to control this violence and settle these disputes. So in a free society, we should be able to hold our views, develop our own rules of living, or pursue our own choices. Right? So in a free society, we should be able to say what we want to, what we feel. We should not feel threatened, and we should live according to our own life. If I want to eat something, I should be allowed to eat that. If I want to wear something, I should be free to wear that. Nobody should stop me from making my choice about my food or my clothes or any other choice. Right? I should be able to marry whoever I want to marry. Correct? So for all this, we need certain legal and political restraints to ensure that differences may be discussed and arbitrated. So that's why we have the police and the courts. The judge is the one which decides what restraints are good, what restraints are bad. Now, there can be a worse case that we may be confronted with attempts to bully or harass us so that we conform to their means other people's wishes. So some people might say that no, you cannot wear this or you cannot eat that. I will not allow you. So we need to deal with those kind of bullies as well. So in that case, we want strong support from law, that is police and the government, to ensure that our freedom is protected. Now, last thing that we'll discuss today is the harm principle. So, self-regarding actions are those actions that have consequences only for the individual actor and nobody else, correct? So, if I say that, okay, I will not study, correct? Then it won't affect others. I will become a bad student and I won't be able to pursue my dream of becoming whatever I wanted to, correct? But there are also other regarding actions, those actions that also have consequences for others, correct? So if I say that everybody is playing Holi, then I will play Holi with chemicals, correct? Acid or something. Then in that case, others will also get affected by my own actions. So self-regarding actions are somewhat allowed in society, correct? If I do not want to study, my teachers might scold me or something, but ultimately they will leave me alone, and I am free to do whatever I want, correct? But if I do not respect the freedom of others, and if I, if I then go around in the class and harass others, bully the teacher, other students, and stop them from studying, then that is a problem. So John Stuart Mill says that in any case the harm caused must be serious, and only then we should use the power of the police or the government. For minor harm, he recommends only social disapproval and not the force of law. For example, there is this thing of no, like anti-police bula legi. So if there is a party going on, you might see that the uncle and aunties from, they will call the police that stop this party, it's getting too noisy. But John Stuart Mill will say that that should not be done because these are minor incidences, and we should only use social disapproval. So we'll not talk to those people who party late at night. We will not invite them to our functions and all. We'll socially boycott them, but not use the force of law. And the reason he says this is because the society must bear small inconvenience in the spirit of protecting freedom. Why? Because today you might call the police for me partying late at night. So tomorrow I will call the police if your child is crying late at night. I will say that your crying of your child is disturbing my sleep. So then, so like nobody will be able to do anything because there will be no laws everywhere. So potential dangerous things need to be reasonably restricted. So things which can become dangerous in future. So if somebody is going around and saying that okay, this particular group community of people are thieves and dacoits, maybe you should beat them or punish them, then that person cannot be put in jail, because then once we start putting people in jail, then other people can also be booked under certain circumstances. So the best we can do is ban those people. So we'll not allow those people to use public spaces, or will not allow them to use YouTube or Twitter. But we should not use the force of law against these people. So this is the harm principle. We'll end this video here. In the next video, we'll discuss about negative and positive aspects of liberty.